The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Catch a creative vibe on the Urban Cube with Sister Shemiza.
Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to you. It is that time again, 10 o'clock exactly, and it's the 15th of July, and you're listening to me, Shemiza, taking you all the way up to 11 o'clock this morning on Where Else? It's the Urban Cube Show. We're going live and direct to the wonderful people in Luton surrounding areas, Peterborough's Salam Radio and Sheffield's Link FM. I hope you've had a fantastic week and weekend, folks, and I hope you're having a great start to the week. As always, today's show is all about motivating you with inspirational conversations with tremendous guests who are either local, national or international. Today's show's guest is local to us. It's a name that many of us will recognise. He is a powerhouse of an individual, a multi-award winning community activist who has been engaging with so many tremendous projects across the town, which are very inspirational to us. And he is here talking to us all the way up to 11 o'clock on some of his wonderful projects. Now, many of us know this individual as somebody who is marking his way on running tracks through marathons, or he's helping community initiatives by helping growing plants in derelict grounds, or he's bringing people together through interfaith events. But not many of you know that this wonderful guest I have today is actually also an author. Now, I'm wondering if anybody listening in is gathering who I'm talking about. It is no other than Sujel Miah. Now, I have to give more attention to relaying his background to you guys if you don't know. If you don't know much about him, you will know now that he is an exceptional individual, and it's taken me a long time to actually get him into the studio. I think it's taken about 10 years to get brother Sujel Miah into the studio. Now, I can forgive him because, you know, he has run a lot of marathons, or he's either cycling or he's on wellness walk, so he's forgiven. But today I could not have him in the show with me, and the reason being because, mashallah, he is an author of an extraordinary book, and it's a book which is all about a movement aimed at bringing families together through the simple act of sharing a meal at the dinner table. How beautiful is that topic? And that's a topic that we're discussing today, because his book is called Dinner with My Daughters. He is a father of 5 children, mashallah, and he has written this book, and it's called Dinner with My Daughters. But before I move on to this book, the reason why we're having this conversation today, because there is a growing concern by many families, I believe, that feel that they're not spending enough time with their children, or their children are not. That this tradition of actually having a meal together at the dinner table seems to be breaking away, where we're having the culture of TV meals, or does anybody even watch TV? Or children are just taking their meals and going into their bedroom. And that interaction between parents and the children at this precious time is not as common as it should be. And we're going to be discussing that. So I would like to ask you this morning, are you a family that actually embodies dinner time together? How often do you do that? And if you do, is it something that you're strict with? Are you a family that actually puts their phone away at the dinner table? Because there is this tendency where we're focusing on interacting on the phone and less on actually interacting with our family and food. So these are the conversations I'm having on the show today. My guest is the absolutely wonderful, wonderful Sujel Miah. And I did say it's taken me a long time to get him on the show, so it's an absolute treat. Very, very supportive of bringing other guests onto my show, but he doesn't turn up himself. Let me just share with you who this guest is in a little bit more depth. He is no other than a devoted father of 5. He's a keen runner, swimmer, cyclist, and an organisational leadership and wellbeing coach who embodies service and leadership in Luton. With 27 years of experience and a master's in community education, he helps transform lives through diverse spheres, from early years provision to grassroots initiatives. like the Luton Lions running community, Luton Employability Skills Hub, Wellness Walk Luton, and the Community Curry Kitchen. Fostering unity and belonging, his post-pandemic efforts include the Peace Garden Initiative and Luton in Bloom, cultivating connection and hope through tree planting and gardening. And after all that, he also is an author with this wonderful book that we're going to be talking about today. Now, he can be forgiven for being busy and not coming on my show. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Sujel.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much for finally joining me on the show. You know what? It's an absolute treat.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'm very humbled by your introduction. It's wonderful to be here. I do listen to your shows, but I must start with first apologizing for not being able to attend your show and accept your invitation many times. But I do listen to your show, and I know it makes a difference to many lives. And I always feel inspired by your conversations and your uplifting spirit and your inspiring words you share with your listeners and your guests.
Oh, Jazakallah khair. That's the best introduction I've been given. So thank you so very much. You are totally forgiven. But as you can see, he is a very, very busy individual, making such a huge difference in many people's lives. Not just the running world, but also cultivating nature as well with these wellness walks, mashallah. But Sujel Bhai, I'm going to talk about all those things, but here today we're going to be talking about something that many people don't know about you, and you're actually a writer, an author, and you've written a beautiful book called Dinner with My Daughters. Tell us about this journey.
Yeah, I'm surprised myself I've written it as well. It's taken a long time. It's taken a number of years. We finally have got it off the shelf. And the journey started very much from during the pandemic. And I spent a lot of times, especially during the pandemic, we spent a lot of time with our family. And it was about just capturing some of those conversations and how we can share some of that wisdom, some of those values, some of those life lessons with other people. But the journey started very much from the experience of the funeral services. I was a volunteer during the pandemic.
Oh my goodness.
And
Okay.
I buried a lot of family members, community members, loved ones during the pandemic. I was involved with the ghusl, the washing, the bathing of our loved ones and family members and community members during the pandemic and burying them. And it was a difficult time for all of us. And it was a stark reminder that, we could go at any time. And I ended up asking my question, if I was to leave this world right now, what have I left my children? The idea came from that, really. Some guidance. Can I leave some guidance, some wisdom behind so that I can help them later in life? So during that period, I started to capture some of the conversations that we were having around the dinner table, making notes, and slowly that grew into the idea of actually the book, The Dinner with My Daughters. I remember putting together around 50 plus conversations, really, and they were all different life lessons, really, advice, wisdom, shared experience that I want to share with my children, but with the world as well. And then the journey of the book was, we couldn't share all of that together. Let's pick 12, one story per month, or one conversation, one life lessons per month, and that's what we have right in front of us. We have part 1 of the book, and my daughters, Rumaisa, Hanifa, Sarah, and Hannah, they've been, part of this whole journey. It's been a whole kind of family bonding activity with my wife, as well as my son Musa as well. I've got to mention him as well.
Of course.
But they've all been involved with actually putting this book together. The book is illustrated by my daughters.
Your daughters have illustrated the book. I have the book in front of me. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I love how it's pink and blue. Very girly, may I say so, Sujel Miah. It's beautiful, and it's illustrated by my daughters. It says that on the cover of the book as well. It's so picturesque, and honestly, it's a book that embodies so much happiness and love and energy. But the premises of this book is really about life lessons around the dinner table.
Yeah. So as you mentioned before, the reality is this, and we fall short as parents like this. We all do. It's difficult at times to have everyone together, but many across our community and beyond, we struggle with spending time with our family, and dinner time is that age-old ritual
Of
that
course.
we've grown up familiar with. But
Yes.
it's fragmented now. As you said earlier on, children, even parents, are spending more time on their phone. I mean, the research is out there. Parents spend 3 times more time on their phones than with their children.
Which is unfortunate.
Unfortunate. And if you can imagine, if we get distracted on our phone and we're doom scrolling or we're addicted to our phones, imagine the impact on children. So when dinner time comes, even if we try to eat together, somebody's watching a TV, someone's scrolling on their own phone, their attention is somewhere else.
Yeah.
And what we want to do is bring families back to the dinner table, because we know that's an opportunity to nourish each other, to regulate each other, to share life experiences, to share those wisdoms, to share experiences from your own parents with them that can help them in terms of their emotional, mental, social well-being, as well as their physical well-being.
Of course, and it's an opportunity to reset as well,
Absolutely.
isn't it? Because there are so many complex. Life is a complex place,
Yes.
and there are so many added pressures on young people and adults, because we're living in such a fast-paced life, and it does feel that our children are being brought up by social media and technology.
Yeah. And the question here is, if we're not spending time with our children, who is? Who are
Indeed.
they spending time with? As parents, we should be there. We should be their go-to person. So whatever they're going through in their life, they can turn to us. If we're not talking to our children, who's talking to our children? If they're not speaking to us about some of their worries, their fears, or their aspirations, or their dreams, who are they speaking to? So it's about breaking away. Our competition is the phone and social media.
Indeed.
And it's about, actually, we've got this opportunity at home every single day. And maybe every single day you can't do it. And I know I'm speaking to many parents.
I mean, I struggle myself. I'm going to be so honest. I struggle.
We all struggle. But at least, you can do it once a week,
Of
3
course.
times a week.
Yes.
You plan that in. And I often say this, look, you create that time, that schedule, whether it's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, everybody's got busy lifestyles. But they know that time is when we're going to eat together. And you make sure that everybody comes to the dinner table. And it might be that they've already eaten or had something, but the fact that they sit together, our children's first real world community should be our families. They should be anchored with the family. So that will bring them stability in life. That will give them confidence, resilience, and that will give them strength to actually, whatever they go through in life, that they can lean on people that they know, they can trust.
I'm delighted that you've been able to focus on something as simple as having dinner around the table. It's such a simple act, but it's so profound, and it's so poignant, and it's really, this is where memories are made.
Absolutely.
And it's about building character as well, and building trust in our children's well-being. And this is what this book seems to embody, mental well-being as well.
Absolutely, that's at the heart of it, emotional, mental well-being. It was when I was talking to you before, this is like, I was thinking very much into the future, 20 years from now, when my children are going through those difficult moments in life, feeling down, feeling lost, feeling distant, whatever is happening in their life, they can look back through the pages of this book and remember the time that we had together. They could share it may be a moment of joy or a tear of hope, whatever it is. It's just going back to those memories that will help to uplift them when they're going through those difficulties. And when we sit around their table, you and me, we remember the time that we spent with our parents. And there are so many lessons, so many values that we can share with our children that we learned from our parents. And it may be consciously or unconsciously. This whole book is all about starting a revolution around bringing people back to the dinner table. It's a catalyst for a conversation, real world conversation.
Real world conversation. That's what it's all about. And they're the conversations we're having on the show today. It is 14 minutes past 10, folks. You're listening to me, Shemiza, and the powerhouse Sujel Miah, who is today talking to me about something, folks, that you may not familiarise yourself with Sujel by. He's an author. And he's authored a book. It's a pretty book, and it's a fantastic book with a wonderful message. And it's all about dinner with my daughters, the lessons around the dinner table. A book that I think should be on everybody's bookshelf, because it really does deliver what it's saying on the book. the cover. It's about starting a ripple effect, a revolution, encouraging people, families to come together and just sparking conversations. You might be a family that doesn't have dinner around the table, or you're working, families are working long hours now. It is a living cost crisis, unfortunately. So parents are having to maybe work a little longer, but finding the time to dedicate to just having 1 or 2 hours in the week just to have that conversation can make all of the difference. But you know what's really significant about this book? I have read that the actual money that's made from the book is actually going to the Luton Food Bank.
Yeah, so the book, we're in a pre-launch campaign, so I'm self-publishing. This is a whole new area, and I've got to also thank others that have been involved. I've had Rana Miah, who's helped with the art direction of the book. Helped in terms of helped with the design, telling how to go about designing the book. I've had Amar Azam.
Yay!
Amar Azam has been like a pillar.
Of course.
So he's been, Sujel, let's have a cup of tea. How are you getting on with it? How are you getting on with it? So
I'm so happy to hear that.
He's you need supporters, you need
course.
helpers. And, Amar was one of the first persons when I first done the manuscript, and I went to him, Amar, what do you think? He loved the idea. You need people to believe in you.
See, this is the thing, believe in you. Did you ever think somebody's going to turn around? Because people associate as you being a bit of an Iron Man, and this is a little bit fluffy for you right now. You're not cycling, you're not running, you're not lifting the weights. You're actually lifting a pen.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've got to give credit where it's due. I mean, there's a young sister, mashallah, Amy Clark, and
I love Amy.
and she's been on my back for 3 years.
Oh, really?
I set her a goal, and I said to her, look, I'm going to do this idea. What do you think? She goes, I love the idea. I go, your responsibility is just about telling me every time you see me back in the office here, have you done the book?
Okay.
And she's, true to her words and promise.
Yes.
She's been the one saying, have you done it, Sujel? Is it? And she's been incredibly supportive of the book.
Mashallah.
You need people in you.
Of course.
As we said, to believe in your idea. I mean, my wife's been there supporting, my children have been there. And we do all, this is kind of a leap into the unknown. And you're always critical about yourself. And we've got that. This book is about, when we come to the dinner table, Sister Shemiza, we as parents are going through all sorts of things.
Indeed.
We've got different challenges and struggles that we're going through, whether it's emotional well-being challenges or mental well-being challenges. But when we sit with our children, we sometimes think they need our advice. Sometimes we need their advice. We need something. They sometimes say something. It's so simple, but it realigns us. And one of the best feelings we have is and sometimes we ignore it, is when our children want to spend time with us. And they just want to, we just need to be present. That moment might go, when they're running up to you and they're craving for our time, they're craving for us, they're craving for attention from us. And sometimes our attention is in the wrong places. It's on our phone or worrying about that or this and that, when our focus should be right in front of us. The most important people are right in front of us, our children. And our partner.
Thank you for this reminder, because we do take it for granted. We do take it for granted because the world is just so fast paced. It's just, we're on a clock system.
Absolutely.
And we're not taking time to reflect or reset or take stock of the fact that our children are growing up so quickly in front of us. But this book is such a beautiful reminder. And I think it's actually quite therapeutic, may I say so, because you're speaking very openly and very eloquently about this beautiful relationship that we need to have with our loved ones. And sometimes it can be testing. Sometimes we can be tested, but it's the simplicity of just being present. That's all it takes. And you know something, Brother Sujel? It's actually National Give a Hug Day today. For your kids, that's what it is. And the fact that you're talking, and this book is like a hug.
Yeah.
It's a hug.
It's a family hug.
It's a family hug. It's a family hug. So if there's anything you want to do today, guys, is get in contact with Sujel regarding this book. How can people get in contact with you?
I want to come back to in terms of what the charity is about. And that's an important point.
Yes.
And just going back to, it's about how we spend time with our children. That the whole book is there talking about. It's about also opening about our vulnerability as well. Each page has a life lesson in there.
Yes.
And it's a conversation. The book is subjective. So when you read about failure. You read about failure, and you turn around, children, what does failure look like to you? The book comes with a convo pack, so parents can actually start having conversation. If you don't know around how do I start this conversation, it's a personal development tool. It's a family development tool, really. So when you talk about here, the life lessons that we have are shaped by our faith values there, but they're universal. So here, everything happens for a reason. So you read the conversation there,
of course,
and then you take a step back and Shemiza, you can talk to that. Your husband can talk to that. Your children can talk to that. Anybody can talk to that. Say, actually, where is in our life that something's happened, and what meaning did we take out of it? So the whole idea is about nurturing and helping you start those conversations at home. So there's conversation about mindset, about parents. There's conversations about failure, how we see those things, because we experience all of those things. And it's important that we actually find ways about how we navigate through those conversations and you take out of it. I remember when we wrote the book, when we put the book together, my children were really involved with it. It was a moment of, I would say, a collective effervescence. That, we were in a state of flow. We were writing up the stories. I was putting up on the landing on the staircase at the 24-hour test. I was waking up in the morning and seeing my daughters that scribbled all over it. They said, oh, that's the lesson here. It was amazing. Then my daughter Rumesa, Hanifa, would be scribbling, this is how the image should come together. Because the dinner table is a place where our dreams, our aspirations, our life experiences, our wisdom that we've, or our legacy that we've taken from our parents, all intertwine and create that tapestry of conversations in life.
Indeed. And when we look back at conversations and times with our grandparents, per se, one thing I always connect conversations is with food.
Yeah.
Whether the nanny made this or daddy made this or my mum cooked this. And food and memories are so interconnected.
Anchored.
It's so beautiful, that relationship that they have. And that's why this is quite interesting, because we don't realise how powerful that space can be. And I wanted to just mention, I'm going through the book and I'm going to flick through the book and I'm just going to place my hand on any page. Okay. So the page I've come on, it says in a beautiful, what colour would this be? It's like a pink colour. Purple, pink, subjective here. You say purple, I say pink. It says a fresh start isn't a new place, and it's a new mindset.
Yeah.
How wonderful is that? And then I'm going to flick through the more pages and see what I land on. Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. What another lovely, lovely quote. I'm going to do it again. Purpose is the best gift you can give to your parents. Wow. So you have, oh look, I found something else. You become stronger and more beautiful through the places you were broken. There's a lot of spiritual.
It's deep.
Yeah.
And you can have those conversations. Initially, when I put the book together, I was saying to Amy, we had those conversations. And in our Islamic tradition, we have the text, the matan, then we have the sharh, the explanation. So I wanted to go through that model.
Right.
So where you've got the primal text, and then you have an explanation. So I thought, okay, let's talk about gratitude here. And okay, here's the conversation. Here's the life lesson. Now let me go into what does gratitude mean spiritually, psychologically, socially. Then, as I was saying, I thought, let the reader. Let it be subjective. Let the reader give the context and their experience.
Indeed.
It's far more powerful and more nourishing if this book can actually create the impetus for conversation around the areas, because everybody's experience is different. And you'll remember it more when you're adding your experience from your parents. And they're learning what grandparents, they learn something about their grandparents. So it's really important that the whole idea of the book is about bringing people around the dinner table. When we're eating food,
yes,
we are much more calmer and our guards are down. We are free. We're enjoying. We're in that moment that actually we haven't got all these masks on. And that we can talk a bit more openly. It's family. We're supposed to be sharing food. When you read the different conversations in their stories in there, it's one of my daughters has got roast chicken, in her mouth, or shepherd's pie, we're talking about multiculturalism. This is probably the most multicultural book you can think about.
I love it. And I was going to ask you, do you have any recipes in this book? You've got everything else.
Yes. So the Launch Good campaign came with, I put together about 10 recipes.
Oh, wow.
And so I think when you go on the Launch Good campaign page, so you can order the book through I think the website's going to be live today or tomorrow. The Launch Good campaign was set up for this period where to help get the books published, but also a contribution goes to our Luton Food Bank. So
wonderful.
So that's where the money. So what will happen at the end of term? And we've got some fantastic people, and it's a charity, very close to my heart. Luton Food Bank does amazing work in our community, makes a difference to thousands of families across our town. And what will happen at the end of the term? What we'll do, and Salma does an exceptional job there.
She sure
really
does.
Inspiring with the team and all the volunteers there. Fantastic there, great environment there of people wanting to do good for others. The money will go towards paying for hot meals. And those hot meals, just like we know poverty is an issue, and we know many people can't sit around the dinner table, so the hot meals will go to those families, just like how we spend time eating with food. They don't have to worry about a hot meal. We'll make sure the hot meal is there so they can spend time eating together.
How fantastic. How fantastic. And on that note, we are going to be heading to a break. Straight after the break, I am going to be joined still with Brother Sujel, and we're going to be talking more about having conversations around the dinner table and reading an extract from this absolutely wonderful book that he has published.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Atif Nawaz. Listen to Inspire FM shows in your time by heading over to inspirefm.org or listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Catch a creative vibe on the Urban Cube with Sister Shemiza.
Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to you. It is 10:30 and it is the 15th of July on Inspire FM 105.1 FM. I'm Shemiza, taking you all the way up to 11 o'clock. This is the second part of the show this morning. Now, it is the Urban Cube Show, a show that celebrates arts, creativity and lifestyle with Muslim trailblazers who are local, national and international. Now, on today's show, I have an extraordinary guest who many of us local in Luton and many nationally will recognise the name. It is no other than Sujel Miah, who is a community powerhouse. That's how I'm going to describe him. He's a multi-award winning community legend who... and some would describe him as a bit of an Iron Man as well, because he does enjoy a little bit of cycling, a little bit of marathon running, actually quite a few marathons, people. Has passion, so much passion for well-being and nature with the extraordinary wellness walks and also the wellness gardening that you're doing as well, because I just love this part of Sujel Miah's work, where the planting of trees in our local parks as well. There is so much I could share with you about Sujel, and there's always something new coming up regarding what he's getting involved in. You may have heard at the beginning of the show, it's taken a long time to get him here to be interviewed, but that shows his humility. He's not somebody you can actually clamp down because he's super, super busy. But on this occasion, I am so delighted to have him join me today because he is now published a book. He's authored a fabulous book, which should be on everybody's bookshelf. And the reason being is this book is a movement aimed at bringing families together through the simple act of sharing a meal at the dinner table. And it's a book that just is steeped with love, really, of laughter, and it's also lifelong lessons as Sujel Miah invites you to his family dinner table. In this inspiring book, he shares the profound wisdom he imparts to his 4 daughters, preparing them for triumphs and tribulations of the outside world, while fostering unbreakable bonds within the family. Dinner with My Daughters is not just a book, it's a transformative experience that will reshape the way you view family meals. Through heartfelt conversations around the dinner table, Sujel weaves a tapestry of stories that encapsulates the essence of parenthood, personal growth, and the profound influence of shared experiences. With a vision to ignite a revolution and bring families back to the dinner table, this book will inspire you to create meaningful connections, strengthen familial ties, and equip your children with the tools they need to thrive in an ever-changing world. Now, I did say it's a good book. It really is, folks. I've had the pleasure of looking through the pages of this wonderful book because it really does celebrate and it reminds us how important it is to build those conversations with our children and with ourselves. We sometimes do get lost in the chaos of life, and unfortunately our schedules do impact our children, and this is a beautiful, gentle reminder on how just taking time, taking stock of just sitting at the table without the phones and just looking into the eyes of our children and actually having a meaningful conversation and enjoying good food can make such a difference. So, I had to have Brother Sujel join me on this show because this is a book that really does touch your heart. Alhamdulillah, I've had the pleasure of speaking to him on the first part of the show. Feel free to rewind and listen to him. You can listen back to all this conversation on the Inspire FM Facebook page as well. Now, Sujel Miah is in the show this morning with me, and we are going to be talking a little bit more about this book. Just on the first part of the show, we spoke about the Luton Food Bank, because the funds of this book will actually help the Luton Food Bank. Now, a lot of you will be familiar with the Luton Food Bank. It is very at the heart of our community, which is quite bittersweet. We would like and hope that there was no food bank to cater for the needs of our families in Luton, but unfortunately, like food poverty does exist. It's a reality. We are living this reality. Our neighbours, our fellow community members, anybody and everybody, working, non-working, those working in, I call it work poverty, are impacted by it. So this is a beautiful, beautiful present, I believe, for our community to serve our families in need. Now, I am so delighted to have Brother Sujel Miah on the show. He's with us to talk to us more about dinner with my daughters. Sujel, bye. I'm going to call you Sujel bye because that's how I know you. Sujel bye. Everybody knows you as Sujel bye, which means brother. Well-deserved title for those of you who don't know what bye means. Thank you once again. You can hear through my voice, I'm actually quite emotional about this book, because it really resonates deep, and I think it will resonate with many of our listeners in Peterborough on Salam Radio and Sheffield on Link FM and local folk. Brother, you spoke about the pandemic, and that's where the journey began. From hope comes, from travesty comes hope.
That's right, yeah.
And you also spoke about wanting to leave a legacy for your family, which was quite, what really touched me is like you spoke about burying people, doing the ghusls in the pandemic, and we are post-pandemic, and the fact of having to leave a legacy and just that thought process. And now, alhamdulillah, post-pandemic, the book is now completed. I have it in front of me. I've been skipping through the pages. How do you feel, brother, now? I mean, I've just reflected quite a lot and reminded you of a time.
Yeah, I'm alhamdulillah, I'm truly grateful for all the blessings in my life. It's just, gratitude fills my heart. It's a lesson that we all had to go through, those difficulties. And I still remember, for many families, they said their final goodbye when their loved one was taken on the ambulance. For many, they couldn't come to the burial. They couldn't even come and attend the funeral prayer. We'd done many of the funeral prayers, the janazas, in the graveyard. Many couldn't get involved as we would do in the ghusl, in the ritual washing, because often they had to follow the government guidance and around the restrictions. So often, individuals in our community were buried alone, metaphorically, in terms of they didn't have anybody around them. It was the volunteers from the funeral services giving their final, doing the final rites and then burying them. And those family members that could turn up or did go to their loved ones at their final moments, they had to make that awful, terrible choice. Who would be the person? Would be with mum or dad or another member of the family. in their final moments. Can you imagine they had to make a choice?
Subhanallah.
We should never forget the difficulty that we went through, and remember the tragedy, you know, and people were carrying a lot of desperate grief with them, trauma, I would say. And I remember speaking to a lot of families at the time of ghusl or at the graveyard, and I would say to them, remind them that actually from our faith the soul never dies, that we see our loved one again. But also death reminds us about the scarcity of life. What are we doing here? And makes us realize that we have to appreciate the moment, the time that we have. And that would remind me about the time that I would have with my children. Here I'm advising that the children of other people's, family about how to move on. But we never truly move on. We can move forward. And we don't have to move on. We can remember our loved ones in different ways. And this book was about how do we, when my time comes, how do my children remember me? And I want them to remember me through the time that we spent together. So those memories are anchored in these pages. And as I said before, during those difficult times, and we can all have them in our lives, when they are struggling, when they're sitting alone, they can pick up this book and it'll take them back to a time when we were all together.
It sounds so poetic. It really does. And I say that with admiration, because the softness that you're relaying these memories and this engagement that you're hoping will encourage other people to come together. I want to ask you, Sujel Bhai, what makes you who you are? Where do your core principles come from? Where does this kindness come from? Because everything that you do, there's an element of kindness, be that through the food bank, supporting them, the running with the Luton Lions, and encouraging folk to do the marathons, even the curry kitchen, and supporting that. Well, where does this all come from?
It's from our faith. It's from our faith. Those values.
As a Muslim.
As a Muslim, what shapes me is my faith, my relationship to God, Allah, the Most Merciful. My wanting to be close to our beloved Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He was a mercy, not just to our community, but to the world. And I think we have a choice in terms of how we want to walk in this world. And we have a great example, an excellent example, through the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, through his mercy and his kindness. And that we should always aspire to be that. I'm nowhere near that. But that mercy and that kindness, it's something that's our legacy, that's our inheritance. That's our faith. That's a message that we should be proud to share with the world around us, whether they are Muslim or not Muslim. And kindness brings people closer to you. And that's where you can make a difference. All of these initiatives that I'm involved with, it's about service. The most selfish thing you can do is service to others, because it actually has a tremendous impact on you positively. It's probably the most rewarding thing you can do, the most fulfilling thing that you can do. When you're out there serving others, whether it's through the work that you're doing, giving a voice, a platform to people, whether it's through sports or activities or through charity, that service shapes you who you are, makes you who you are, and it nourishes your soul, reminds you of the difference that you can make. And I think that's what drives me, being able to not always necessarily seeing the results, but being able to make a difference in people's lives. This is a book about making a difference to families. And I think at the core of our communities are families. And we're seeing the challenges, many families, we're facing those challenges, that we're seeing fragmented families. This book is about bringing those families back together.
I'm so glad that you've not you're not in denial that families are fragmented. We are seeing research, we're seeing it with our own eyes, that families are struggling. And with the pressure of the living cost crisis, that has actually put more pressure on families. And they are being impacted by food bills. They're being impacted by heating bills. They're being impacted by rent. And so that the dynamics are quite fragile at the moment in the family unit. So what else could you say to families listening in, parents listening in, children listening in?
It's hard. I mean, I oversee the curry kitchen, and I see families come and, I was explaining to some of the volunteers that came from a school that day on Friday, and I said there was a time that the parents would only come and take the food. They would never bring the children, because it's something to ask for food or ask for something that you should be providing as a parent. It feels undignified. Of course. And it feels like you're losing your self-respect. But people are so desperate now. People are struggling so much now that doesn't make a difference. They come with their children to take the food. And it should remind us that there are people out there that are struggling so much that, they're desperate. And what are we doing to help those families that are struggling like this? What more can we do? But also appreciate that we're in a position to help those families, not to look down upon them. But how do we help those families move up? And I've seen many families and individuals who are struggling, and it's a phase people go through. I spent the weekend talking to individuals who are really struggling. As you said, the cost of living crisis, they're struggling to pay their bills, their rents, all sorts of other things. And they said to me, it's quite profound. And I would never expect this person to be struggling. Turning around the table and saying, I'm struggling to put food on the table.
Oh, bless you. And I love the fact that you can actually take stock of that and take a step back and actually see this tapestry come to life. It is dinner with my daughters, folks. This is what these conversations have been about. Life lessons around the dinner table, which has been authored by Sujel, Miah, illustrated by, he calls them my daughters. I love that. My daughters. Beautiful book. It really does need to be, if it's not on your dinner table, then it needs to be on your bookshelf. And this book is what we're talking about today. And honestly, I've really enjoyed going through the book. It's a real celebration, riot of colour, riot of quotes, lots of snippets for parents and children alike to explore, learn and envisage and just make those conversations come to life. And there's also a reflection guidebook as well by Sujel, Miah, that kind of will help you kind of go through questions on how to, when you focus on gratitude, you'll find happiness. These are lessons, asking you how to kind of envisage yourself in these moments. It's one of the best things that's come out of Luton. I really do think so. And I've said this live on radio. Do you know the reason why? Because there are so many elements that can benefit people in so many levels. And it's just a real treat for the eyes and ears and mind and your dinner table. I'm really good at this, aren't I, Brother Sujel? I should do your advertising campaign.
You should do that. I should have come here 10 years ago.
Oh, bless you. But, like you said, you've taught us something. Live the moment now, so it's never too late. But there's somebody else behind this book. She's a really renowned, acclaimed, published author of many, many books. She is, editor of a magazine, internationally, worldwide known. Who am I talking about, do you think?
Naima B. Roberts.
Naima B. Roberts, definitely.
Oh, my gosh.
How does she get involved with this book?
Oh, my God. So, basically, I had the first draft PDF done last year.
Right.
My wife has been pushing me. And she goes, we need to get this out. We need to get this out as well, like many others. And Sister Naima runs a kind of a coaching where she kind of supports new writers to find books, find books within her, to publish their books or get them on that journey to write books. And she was running a program, and my wife goes, I'm going to send it to her. Wow. I said, what? I can send it. It's for a sisters program. She goes, it doesn't matter. I'm going to send it to her and see if she can coach you. And so my wife sent it to Sister Naima, and Sister Naima responded back, and she was so she was it was such an encouraging response, saying, "We got to get this out."
Love it. That's wonderful.
She loved the book. She loved the idea, and ever since last year, she's been kind of behind the scenes trying to push it and trying to get it out there. There's been lots of different challenges, especially when you're self-publishing. So she's been championing this book just internationally, really, trying to get people to buy into the ideas and getting me off the ground and giving me
because
that
it's
support.
unique. It's very unique. And you know what's really important here for folks to listen into, and I bet a lot of you would be thinking this, it's the book is so feminine. But you're super masculine, but there's a soft sideness coming through this book, and that's that wonderful balance. And yeah, I want you to kind of share that. Where does that come from?
Being a father.
Yeah. And I love how you empower your daughters. You know, you're a father of daughters. So have they changed you as a man, do you think? Have they brought something into your life that you never thought you had?
My daughters are my everything. As well as my son, I better say his name there, Musa. My daughters, they do everything. Each one of them brings something different to the dinner table. They enrich my life in so many different ways. I think as an individual, as a father, I think raising daughters is different than raising sons.
Right.
And I had to learn to be more of a listener, more open, more patient. I've had to learn how to talk to them in a way that is that will help us move through conversations in positive ways, really. Also explore my understanding where I've come to with decisions of my thinking, because everything needs to be explained, particularly to my daughters.
It's critical minds. Now, I wonder where they get that from.
Everything needs to be explained. So it can't be a no. So it's got to be. But also, exploring who I am, the type of father I am, and what I want for my daughters. And as a father, you just, you're overprotective about your daughters, particularly. So this dinner table was my sanctuary, bringing them to the dinner.
I love that.
And preparing them for the outside world, because at some point I've got to let go.
Oh, yes.
And I wanted to give them something, the values, the lessons, the wisdoms, that they can help them make their own decisions, informed decisions from the conversations that we have. Often as parents, we try to control everything, micromanage everything. We've got to let them be themselves and let them pursue, let them learn from their mistakes as well, and being not afraid to make mistakes or having failures, because of those failures and those mistakes or challenges they go through in their lives will make them who they are, make them stronger people. And this book references that. I mean, the dinner table is all about, and I'll make, if we have time allows, it started with something very simple, Shemiza. I would start, and this is all kind of new area to me as well. My daughters are growing up. What do I do? And, how do I have conversations that are going to be meaningful and nourishing and fulfilling? And when we went around, initially the whole conversation around the dinner table started very much around, share with me one thing that you're grateful for. And I would start, and then my daughter would start, and then they would open up into different conversations. And gratitude is something that has, we can talk this whole radio show can be about the impact gratitude has. And often in a world and a life, often in this world that we're living with social media, always looking at somebody who's got something more than you, and we forget what we have. And that's really important, that we have so much. And when we have a grateful heart, we live better lives and healthier lives.
Indeed. And on that note, and so much wisdom, Brother Sujel, it's been such a treat having you joining me on the show today to talk about dinner with my daughters. Where can we get hold of this book?
So at the moment, there's the Launch Good campaign going. So it's available then on the Launch Good page, because a contribution of the book goes towards paying for a hot meal for a family that's in need in Luton. It'll be up on my website as well, so you can purchase it directly from the website as soon as the Launch Good campaign finishes, which is in about a week's time, hopefully. And you can find us on social media, on Instagram and on Twitter, hashtag Dinner with My Daughters, and you can order through social media, I believe. So and at some point it's going to get on Amazon. Some point somebody's going to hear this and say, okay, we want to help you publish your book. And so we're looking for supporters. The whole idea is about, I said to my daughters, I go, what's a good target? First of all, I said, we want Dinner with My Daughters in every home. I said, that's the whole thing, because it's about having every home having the opportunity to have it, conversation with their children and strengthen the family, bring
those
good
bonds.
family, and that's a form of continuous reward.
Yeah.
If we're going to bring
Sadaqah.
sadaqah, bring good to people's lives.
Yeah.
But then we said, okay, in the first 3 years, let's try to support 100,000 families.
Love it. I love it. I love the way they think, and it's been an absolute pleasure, Sujel Bhai. Thank you so very much for joining me finally on the Urban Cube. It's been wonderful listening, learning, taking stock of your wisdom, which you have loads of, and just hearing about your daughters. May Allah protect them, and you know what? They're going to be wonderful. I can imagine them being wonderful mothers in the future, honestly, with the grounding that they've been given.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
Can I thank you?
You're very welcome.
Can I thank you for inviting me to the show, and thank you for being patient with me. And I know it's taken a while to come, and there's lots of invites, and I want to thank you. You're doing an amazing job, or the role that you play here, advocating for voices in the community across the Muslim community, and helping to inspire so many. And I know this show, I know your voice carries a lot of weight with young people, as well as people my age. And it inspires us a lot to hear you talking on the radio and telling that, keep on chasing your dreams and keep on looking how you can make a positive impact, not just on your family, but your community and the world around you. So thank you for thankless hours that you put towards this show.
Oh, bless you.
Thank
That's
you very
very
much.
kind. I'm really humbled. I really am humbled. On that note, guys, thank you so very much for listening in to me and listening to Brother Sujel. Do grab yourself dinner with my daughters. I am sure it's not the last time you're going to hear about it, because I know there'll be other shows that want to speak to you, Brother Sujel, about this book. It fits in so nicely across Inspire FM. And assalamu alaikum, folks, and stay well, stay warm, and keep on smiling.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.